So what you got going today, James?
Alright, today we are going to be tying a version of the 21-incher, or the 20-incher. I call it the 21-incher. Alright, first things first, we'll get some thread wraps down.
You always use the chartreuse thread, right?
I do like chartreuse thread on this. It'll give it a little bit of a chartreuse collar that'll match the dubbing we're going to use for the thorax. So you don't have to, but I like to use it. First thing is first. This is a stonefly imitation, so we're going to go ahead and use buyouts as our tail. So we'll splay out two nice buyouts for you.
How do you like to get those off the stem?
I cut them. I just pinch two and cut them.
Okay.
And then I'll situate them in my fingers so they're splayed away from each other.
Okay.
Just drop that one. So sometimes this can be a little tricky, but
show us there.
Can you see?
Yeah, we can see that. Yeah.
When they're pushed together, they're pointing in opposite directions. And then I will slide them to either side of the hook shank and pinch with my left hand. Do one wrap right over top. Tension goes straight down. And then you can wrap them up the hook shank.
Give us a view from the top with the rotary. So we see how those tails are. Oh yeah.
Doesn't have to be perfect, but it does present a nice little tail there for a stonefly. Alright. And next thing we'll do here is lay down some thin wire. What's up, Brewer?
You put some lead on this sometimes?
I do. Sort of depends on if it's a personal fly or fly for someone else, but a lot of times adding a little bit of lead in the beginning on the hook shank helps make a good profile on the nymph too. But for this video we're not doing lead, but might be a good thing to try at home.
For sure. Or maybe even a tungsten bead. Ooh.
Yeah, something to get it down. I do normally use this as a point fly in my rig, so this fly is normally the one with more weight when I'm fishing a double nymph rig. Alright, then I'm going to do 2 strands of peacock herl. Lay those down across the back. We'll get those cinched in right by where those buyouts are tied in. And then we'll bring our thread forward. We'll sort of leave our thread right here a little bit past halfway, but still leave plenty of room behind your bead head for our thorax. Now we'll take this peacock herl. We're gonna palmer this around like for the body. Nice wraps touching each other as they come forward. Alright. And then we're gonna tie that off right where we stopped our thread a second ago. Cinch it down. And we're gonna counter wrap our wire rib around that.
Meaning?
I am bringing this wire in the opposite direction that I brought the peacock herl. It helps with durability to the fly. A good fly will not get shredded by one fish, so a good technique is to reinforce your peacock herl with counter wrapping that wire.
Excellent.
Alright. Now we will start with the thorax on our stonefly nymph. So like I said, a little bit more than halfway. Halfway is fine if it's not quite there, but that's sort of what we're going for right now. Next I'm going to take just a regular pheasant tail, cut off a healthy chunk.
About how many fibers roughly? Just make a guess.
This many.
Okay.
It's going to be our wing casing, so you want it to be, you know, thick enough to fold over and make a good looking wing case. So there we go. I'll just tie it down through the whole thorax. Important thing with nymphs, right? We want this thorax to be quite a bit bulkier than the rest of our fly. That's just standard nymph profile. The thorax is going to be a lot bulbier than the back. So there we go, we got our wing case folded back. Now we're gonna use a partridge feather for some legs. This is a little bit of a trickier technique, but it's definitely a good technique to learn for making legs on your nymphs. So I got my standard partridge feather right here. I'm going to strip my fibers off the little marabou-y stuff at the bottom, so we'll have something like this. And then we're gonna work our fibers backwards so we have something looking a little bit like this. We're gonna put our tie-in point right here. Alright, let's see. So we'll lay that right on top of our thorax and get that tip tied in right there. Alright, once we get that feather in, we're just gonna take my favorite ice dub, bright chartreuse, and we're gonna take a clump out.
And you like to just do that, a big kind of thick clump on there, right? So it kind of has a buggy look to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to go
too tight.
Don't go too crazy, but yeah, you want it to come out a little bit, and you don't have to wind it too tight. Sometimes actually no, don't do a doubling loop for this. But we'll just sort of wind it up. It's always better to do a little bit at a time versus putting too much on in the beginning. Alright. Then we'll take our partridge feather that we have lined up with our pheasant tail, and we'll gently pull that over the dubbing.
Right over the top of the back.
Right over the top of the back, yep. And then this is where we'll take our thread wrap. We'll go 1 right over top, 2, 3 to lock it down. Then you can cut that. And then last part, we'll just take our pheasant tail wing case, and that just goes right over top of that partridge feather that we just put on there. Give it some good thread wraps in there, make sure she's nice and locked in. And then you can go ahead and cut that. And then a couple whip finishes here. Alright. That is the 20-incher. You can pick out the dubbing a little bit more if you want. I don't think it's a big deal. This is a great springtime pattern. It is a purest way of fishing an egg pattern. But yeah, tie it, try it, and fish it. Good luck out there.